Welcome to the future.
Welcome to the Muxall Open IoT channel. I am your host, Michael Crane. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about this DHCP bug that I let roll out into the field. It's my bad. I'm pretty sure I tested this, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. I wanted to show it to you so you can identify it and see if you have the bug, which for all the testers, you guys do. So, how do you identify the bug? Well, if you go to the barbecue config tab here, and if you don't know how to add or get to the config tab, you just click on add tab and then click on config, and you'll get this barbecue config tag, okay? Or tab, sorry, not tag. And then you'll scroll down and you'll see your SSID. It won't be this, of course, but you'll see that use DHCP is unchecked. You'll probably have an IP address that looks like this, because this is the factory default IP address that I use for testing. But if you go over to your barbecue controller, Muxall Pro BBQ Controller, you'll and you go to your config screen, you'll see the Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi SSID. It won't be this, of course, and you'll see it'll say DHCP right here and another IP address. So it'll say DHCP and whatever IP address your wireless router has given it. And this is fine. This is okay. Your barbecue will work just fine like this, okay? The problem happens, and this is where things start breaking, is if you come into the barbecue config and let's say you're adjusting the PATSI, right? And let's say you're changing the fuel on minimum, or you're doing something around in here, or you're changing the probe types, and you come down here and you hit save. What happens is, since this is unchecked, it disables DHCP in the controller. And when DHCP is, and you'll know if DHCP is disabled because this will no longer say DHCP right here. It'll say IP. And you'll also see this address right here, because you have now made a static IP address. And it's this. And as one of the testers, I think Kevin, found out, if you're not on the 192.168.1 network, that will make it where you can't get to your controller anymore. So if you do have this bug and you don't have a fix for it yet, before you ever hit save down here, no matter what you change around here, always make sure to check use DHCP. And you'll notice it grays these out. And that's because when you use DHCP, it won't set a static IP address. It uses whatever your router assigns to the barbecue controller. So, to review, if you change anything, if you have the bug and you change anything in the config, always make sure to check use DHCP before you hit save. Okay, I was poking around. I did find a LCD screen capture that shows. So this is what it'll show IP right here. If you've clicked on save and not checked this use DHCP, when you go to your controller, look on the LCD under the config, it'll say IP right here, and it'll have this IP address in there. And you'll probably see Wi-Fi not connected. Right? So I know this really sucks. And you know what? I wanted to show you guys what the problem was. When you click on add tab and then click on config, it goes to the controller and basically calls this command right here. And this command just says, okay, well, here's all the stuff that's on this page right here. It's got the Wi-Fi SSID, right there, the Wi-Fi password, and the user password, and IP addresses, right? IP address, subnet mask, and gateway. Where's where's DHCP? Well, isn't that a curious blank spot right there? Now, I know I tested this use DHCP setting, and there is a nice already pre-made blank spot for the command to send use. It's actually the variable is DHCP, and I'll show you that because I've already fixed the bug. Here is the missing command right there. Is DHCP. It's a Boolean, and it's just conveniently missing from the code. Why? I don't have the foggiest idea. So I can't explain what happened. I don't know if I just fat fingered, maybe I highlighted something and accidentally, like I highlighted it and just accidentally hit the space bar, or I don't know what happened. It was very strange. Anyway, it's back. I also added this. This was probably unneeded, and that's why I didn't put it in previously, because, and all it's doing, in case you're wondering, it's just populating this IP address in here and subnet mask and gateway in the GUI, which, if you think about it, is kind of silly, right? Because you already know what the IP address is for the GUI, otherwise you wouldn't be logged into the GUI. So, and that's probably why I didn't put it in before. I figured I'd gild the lily a little bit and say, okay, well, I'll go ahead and feed down the correct IP address, even though we already know what the IP address is. It is what it is. I like I said, I didn't need to put that code in there, but if you think about it, maybe it kind of makes sense, because if this IP address doesn't match this up here, it might get a little confusing, right? And that was the whole fix. And here's the whole problem right there, is this blank line right there. So while we're on the subject of bugs, I want to show you another bug, and this isn't my bug. This is for people that use Firefox. I haven't checked it in Google, Chrome. I guess we could try it. And I don't have anything running Safari right here next to me, but I just want to show you. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and just X out of this. And now I'm going to pull up another Firefox session. We're going to go to 201. All right. Go ahead and log in. Muxall. If this pops up, you can save it. If you're using DHCP, this IP address can change, and I don't think it really matters, but I don't save them because I test so many controllers. I'd have 1,400 saved passwords in here. Okay, so now we're back to looking at the Firefox bug. So in the control page, everything pops up okay. But when you go to add the tab, the config tab, and it looks like this, basically blank. And what's happened is Firefox has decided that it's cached all the settings in this page, and it's not going to populate this page anymore. And they did it, I'm sure, to make the page load faster. The problem is they didn't populate any of these fields. And this actually broke a lot of things. It broke a lot of Facebook pages. It broke this. It's a fairly simple fix. If you hold down the control key and then click on this reload, so it's control reload, you'll notice it pulls up another tab right there. And just type in Muxall. Yeah, don't save that. And now we add this config tab. And now it goes and gets it. That control refresh basically, or reload, control reload basically tells it to go get a fresh copy. And so it knows it needs to populate all these fields in a fresh copy. And then the old one right here that didn't have anything, you can just X out of. Okay? So that's the fix for that. And I was reading on the internet, Firefox is planning on coming out with a fix with this very soon because it broke all kinds of things. So I'm not the only one that has bugs. Okay, so while we're on the subject of Wi-Fi, I figured we might as well talk about Wi-Fi a little bit, okay? When you're setting up your Wi-Fi, let me see, I've got a picture around here somewhere. Here we go. I just cut this out of my router here in the lab. It's going to be a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi on the Muxall Pro BBQ Controller. All right. So don't try if you have 5 gigahertz capable, it won't do it. So maybe make sure it's 2.4 gigahertz. That's pretty standard for most routers. You have to give it a SSID name or the wireless name. My 2.4 gigahertz SSID name here in the lab, Muxall Lab, is pretty straightforward. And 24 just means it's the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, right? I noticed one of the testers, Carter, had a space in his Wi-Fi name or Wi-Fi SSID, and that is allowed. Do not put a space in the password, okay? Yeah, don't do this. That is bad. But spaces are allowed in the SSID, just to let you know if you use it. I personally would not recommend doing that. I would stick with either the camel case, which is what this is. So, so it's got Muxall's all lowercase, then a capital T, then test. And so camel case is you just capitalize everything, all the first letters. So if Muxall test, lab, so lab, by office. You see how I capitalize the first letter of every word. That makes it easy to read. Or you can also use underlines. Underlines are a great way to, if you don't want to capitalize everything, you can just do Muxall_test, something like that. But like I said, you can use the space. There's a lot of equipment that might not take spaces, so especially if it's older. So be careful. This might cause you problems. But anyway, the Muxall Pro handles it okay. And the rest of it, the Muxall Pro uses a WPA2 personal authentication method, and it uses AES encryption only. Okay, so these are the two things it supports, and of course you have to give it a password, which is what we were looking at right here. I wanted to show you this because if you're using WEP with WEP, and my router actually doesn't support WEP. WEP is very insecure or unsecure, whichever the term is. It's very easy for someone with just a cell phone to monitor your Wi-Fi traffic using WEP. They can see all your passwords and everything. So, yeah, don't use WEP. And the Muxall Pro doesn't even support WEP. So it does support WPA2 personal. Yeah, so there are quite a few different kinds of authentication methods. One is open. And surprisingly, I don't know if this would actually work with an open system. It might. I don't know. I didn't test it. Shared key. The shared key might actually be WEP. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. This is my router, but yeah, just remember it's WPA2-personal. Okay, and there's a bunch of them. That's why I wanted to show you this in case you have a router that looks like mine. You pop this thing down, you go, wow, what is all this stuff? Just remember WPA2-personal and 2.4 gigahertz, and you'll be good. One last thing I wanted to discuss, and this can be really annoying if you run into this, and that is WebSocket errors. So let's say your barbecue is cruising along, and then all of a sudden you get this popping up on your screen. And yes, it is very informative, isn't it? WebSocket error, WebSocket code, undefined data, undefined. I know. The amount of information given is mind-blowing. Yeah, so if you see this, I know I think Joe was complaining about this. If you see this, it's because you have lost temporarily Wi-Fi connection to your to the Muxall Pro BBQ Controller. And this could be due to a number of things. If it's hard to say what causes Wi-Fi problems, but usually like a noisy environment, noisy being there's maybe other equipment running around or running nearby. Sometimes just the barbecue itself running, all the motors and everything in there running can cause noise and disrupt the Wi-Fi. Like on mine, I don't know if you remember one of my barbecues, I was like 30 or 40 feet away, Wi-Fi in the house that's in the house. And I don't ever have any of these problems. So it could be a number of things. The goal is try to make the Wi-Fi better. Oh, another thing that could also cause it is if you have other Wi-Fi devices nearby, they tend to step on each other. So, you might keep your phone away or your laptop or something else away from the barbecue. If you run into this problem, right? If you keep seeing this, and I know Joe was saying it, he kept saying this, and it's because the Wi-Fi is dropping, and it doesn't have to drop long, probably 20 to 30 seconds of Wi-Fi interruption, and you'll get this error. And it's because the WebSocket sends a keep alive to the server from the GUI to the server or to the controller, and if that dies, you get this error. And what happens when you get this is, nothing will work. So now you have to re-log in, because if you scroll down here, you'll see client state offline, device state offline. That means this GUI is no longer communicating with the controller. So you can click on login here. Well, that didn't work. So, I know why it didn't work. I forgot to restore my Wi-Fi. I'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, if you see these things offline, just click on login, and it should log in. And now you see the client state is ready, the device state is ready. Everybody's happy. Doesn't look like that big of a deal, right? Well, the problem comes if you're graphing. And you've got a graph running, and when you log back in, this graph resets itself. And it does that because it thinks it's a new session, and so it deletes all the old data out and starts new data. And it does this so because you don't want this graph. This graph collects lots of data and puts it on your device that you're using to monitor the barbecue with. And if it didn't clean out the old data, it would leave it there forever. And on top of it, it would keep piling up, right? So the data it stores on your device is temporary, and if you X out of it, it deletes it, right? The device itself will delete it, or this thing will also delete it when it starts up. It clears all the old data out because you don't want, on a new session, you don't want to have a bunch of junk data in there, right? And this button right here, by the way, does the exact same thing. It just clears the old data out. So like if you're running and you stop your cook for some reason, you click on off, you stop it, you make some changes, you click back on, and you come back over to your graph and you say, okay, well, I don't want this cook went bad. I'm going to clear it out and refresh the screen. And refresh just sets it back to 0. And that's the problem. So if you get this WebSocket error and you're running a graph, it's going to reset your graph. And I know it's a pain, and I'll try to look at how to make that better in the future. But the thing is if I start clogging up people's devices with data they can't clear out, you're going to hate me. And I'd rather have people complain about the graph going away than their device becoming unusable because it's clogged up with a bunch of junk data. Yeah, WebSocket errors are a pain. The only thing I can tell you to do to make them better is try to improve your Wi-Fi reception to the controller. Don't forget, you can support the Muxall Open IoT channel by donation using a credit card and PayPal, or by purchasing products at the Muxall store. Details and links are in the description under this video. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up, that helps, and hit the subscribe button, that really helps. If you have any questions or comments, post them in the comments under this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.